I'll be honest, I kind of expected the series to be cancelled after the first 10 episodes, so it was quite delightful finding out that there's 4 more and there's going to be more in the future. With that said, I'm just going to do a quick little recap of the first 10 episodes because there's going to be some relevant things later on. The story follows Mega Man under the name of Aki Light, who's a little robot boy that has an even smaller robot named Mega Mini that lives inside his hollow skull. He was created by Dr. Light, whose body's like a monster truck combined with a T-bone steak. Taking the role is Suna, Dr. Light's human daughter, whose skin is purple on part of her face inexplicably. Then there's Wily, who's no longer an old evil scientist, is now a little boy that's friends with Mega Man because the writers of the show are weird. The first 2 episodes revolve around the introduction of Sergeant Racism, who's racist towards robots because of some vague war where he lost his arm. Except, at the end it's revealed he's actually working with the robots to kill all the humans. Why? I don't really know. My guess is he either wants another war, which doesn't really make sense since the last time that happened he was nearly killed, or they're going to try and pull the arm is actually controlling him plotline, because that ended up being so great in Metal Gear Solid. In episode 3, Wily gets his old man haircut. In episode 4, we're introduced to Hypno Woman. At the end, it's decided if, even if it's for the goal of eternal happiness of the entire world, mind control is still wrong. In episode 5, the show contradicts its own moral in the very scenes established. In episode 7, we're introduced to Iceman and given the message of, be careful of what you say because some of these robots are stupid and might take you literally. Not really immoral, but sure. In episode 9, Hypno Woman returns and Dr. Light tells Mega Man off for having the audacity to simply be suspicious of her because how dare he not instantly trust a person who's done bad things in the past? Obviously, he's in the wrong. But then, of course, last but not least, we have episode 10. Where Aki makes his school great again.
I know words, I have the best words.
The best way to describe episode 11 is as challenging, for one particular reason I'll get to in a moment. First, so it's established it's track and field day at the school, however robots and humans don't compete against each other. According to Mega Man, it's due to the fact that robots are just that superior, so it wouldn't be fair. And this kind of feels the end to the whole message of peace and harmony between robots and humans, they're both equal. And I would understand if the robots were superior, but they're not. Look at this robot. He sucks. He doesn't even have arms. He can't throw a javelin. He's not going to win in a race. But this isn't going to let Burt Wily get him down because he comes in strutting his stuff. And I thought this was because he was the class president. But no, he's got these new robot legs that let him run real fast. And there's one thing I noticed about him though, besides the erotic air thrusting, which I'm very into. I hope the whole series gets a little bit more risque. There's a little triangle on his crotch. And why I bring this up is because there's 2 possibilities. One, this is a functional decision. This is supposed to be like a zipper. And that's not quite how that bit is shaped. I imagine if you stuck it through there, that would be incredibly painful. The other alternative is this is an artistic decision. And the problem with that is you are making me stare at this little boy's crotch. And the reason I say that is because if you have a bunch of white, and then you have a little bit of black in it, people's eyes are going to be drawn to the black because that's what's different. So you're making me stare and think about this little boy's crotch this entire scene. Thankfully, it doesn't last too long because everything starts getting spooky and green. And then there's an It reference.
And when you're down here with me, you float down!
Kind of a weird reference considering the show is primarily being watched by 7-year-olds, but I appreciated it. The reason why this is all happening is due to this new villain, Chemistry Man, and Chemistry Man used to be a former teacher at the school under the name of Dr. NRT. However, he was considered so boring that he got the nickname of Dr. Inert, which, that's cute, I'll give him credit for that. And he was so boring though, he also lost his job and potentially went homeless. That's not quite how that works. I had plenty of boring teachers, and one of them was actually so boring the student fell asleep in class. And that teacher went over to the student, smacked him in the head, and called him a waste of space and taxpayers' money. They didn't lose their job. I'm pretty sure the student would be okay. During his time of unemployment, Chemistry Man was actually recruited by Sergeant Racism, and I don't quite understand what Sergeant Racism gets out of this. This doesn't really seem like it would benefit him in any way, but admittedly, we don't really know what his goal is, so maybe it would be relevant later on. Probably not, though. The solution to beating Chemistry Man is to use Burt Wily's little bunny rabbit thing, because it made him lose control of his legs, so it makes Chemistry Man lose control of his body. And this is fine, but they kind of try and shove in a moral at the last second of oh, well, this wasn't the intended use, but Burt Wily, your invention still has merit because it is useful in beating up the villain. Which is kind of the most backhanded compliment possible. That's like someone going, wow, Samsung, the Galaxy Note 7 sure is an incredible phone. I mean, just the other day I was getting mugged, but when the mugger took my phone, It caught on fire, serving as a perfect distraction to wrestle the gun away from him. That's not really a compliment, but whatever. Let's move on to the next episode. Unfortunately, episode 12 is just kind of boring. Not really a whole lot happens in it. The only reason I actually bring it up is because of this.
Hey! You're the one who broke my machine!
I was just admiring how amazing it is.
Which is just the most middle-aged man writing a child character thing I've heard in quite a while. In addition to that, though, there's also this.
I'll bet if you were in charge, you'd be collecting your ransom right now.
Hey! You're right!
I imagine the scene's perfectly fine out of context, but in the actual episode, this is never something that is introduced or mentioned prior. There's never anything about a ransom, and it definitely wouldn't be something that Suna would know about. Episode 13 begins with the firefighter robots actually fighting the fire, and they're actually using their arm gun portions, which I thought might shoot out water, to shoot out water, and they're not just letting the building burn down this time. And I have to wonder, did somebody in the show watch my previous video? Because if so, and you're watching this time, love you. Mwah. Keep up the good work. Staying on brand though, the firefighter robot's water just doesn't really do anything, so they end up being completely useless again. So Mega Man actually has a pretty good idea to use Iceman's powers. And before he can do that though, Iceman comes in and saves the day. And this is kind of the whole basis for the entire plotline of this episode, because during this, Mega Man has Iceman's powers. So he takes everything literally. They're very inconsistent about the whole personality thing. Some episodes he gets the personality, some episodes he doesn't. Whatever. And Mega Mini says, don't really worry about him, like, outdoing you. It's fine. Pick your battles. Don't worry about it. And Mega Man interprets pick my battles as attack Iceman for literally no reason.
Whoa! What are you doing, Big M?
Picking my battles.
Why? Nothing about that required him to do this. Pick means he has a choice. He doesn't just have to randomly, for no reason, attack Iceman. He's doing this because he wants to, apparently. Mega Man's just that petty that he got showed up by Iceman. Which, okay, fine, sure. And then Iceman comes over and he's like, oh, it's okay you attacked me, but you should really leave this to the professionals like me. And Mega Man takes this as, oh, that must mean I'm not a professional, which, okay. And then after this, he continues to take everything literally. And there's a precedent for that with the Trump robot that turned Mega Man into Trump. So that's, I can accept. Even it's very inconsistent because he's taken personalities in the past, but once he turned off the power, he was okay. Okay, but then this time, in addition to keeping the personality, he also has the powers because it starts snowing around him consistently. And he touches a glass of water and just freezes. So what is happening right now? I don't understand this. And the solution to this problem is Suna going, who are you? I'm Mega Man. What is Mega Man? A hero. So if Mega Man's a hero, doesn't that make you a hero? He's like, oh yeah. And that's all it took. Okay, sure. And then they fight with Iceman because Iceman is kind of freezing everybody because some cops said freeze. Sure. And they fight, and that's it. That's the end of the episode. Okay. Episode 14 might be the most bizarre Mega Man episode yet. And not due to the way you're probably thinking, because this episode was actually entertaining. And not in a, it was so bad that I found it funny kind of way. No, I actually thought it was entertaining based off its own merits, based off what it was intending to do. And that was shocking to me. And it's not good. I wouldn't say it's that good at all. I'd just say it's decent. But I actually found some of the things they were intending to do entertaining. And the main reason is due to Gutsman. Because Gutsman gets into so dumb it's funny territory, like Kung Fury or Kung Pao. And since it's so short, the kind of like only couple minutes that he's actually on screen, his character works. And it'll probably be worse in later episodes. But he's just so dumb. And then there's some fun references, like he's carrying a box, and it's literally just his head. And I assume this is meant to be a reference to kind of the old NES and SNES period, where the cartridge would only allow so much space. So they'd have to like reuse an asset or a sprite or whatever. So they'd have to just have like a weird object in the environment would just be another thing. So I thought that was cute. And it's not good though, like I said, because there's some other like weird nonsensical stuff. Like the whole plot line is he's sneaking in there because he's like, oh, I have this new invention. And they're like, oh, okay, I guess. And it's a device that turns trash into food. But he doesn't want, one, how did he invent this? Two, I don't know why he needed to make this, because it could have just been like, oh, I'm a scientist, I'm here to see your dad. They would have still let him in, but fine. And then, like, they make the pudding out of the trash, and Suna is super into it, and she, like, eats it throughout the entire episode, and she's like, oh, I'm so stuffed. But it never depletes, ever. And this is just kind of a weird animation thing. Like, they keep showing her taking bites out, but it's still full internally. It never, like, changes, regardless of, like, how the spoon works. But I imagine this is just a budget issue. I can't imagine Cartoon Network is giving them any money at all at this point. So, considering that, I'm impressed. Because of the very low bar that this episode in the previous series is set. But I am impressed nonetheless, so good job. Keep up the good work.
What makes a hero? Someone who fights for unity. Someone who stands for justice. Someone like Mega Man.
Mega Man.